Hey, good day. Top 9 here. So today, pag-usapan natin itong subject na juvenile delinquency and juvenile justice. So, this is part 1. No? Hati-hatiin natin para hindi siya masyadong mahaba. This video is intended for those who are seeking for supplemental materials for their review in the criminologist licensure examination. So, I hope makatulong ito. Re-reviewin lang natin itong subject. And as you know, juvenile justice or juvenile delinquency and juvenile justice subject is under the umbrella of criminology area na mayroong 20% weighted percentage. So, kung nakikita ninyo sa screen, yan yung mga subject natin under the criminology area. And juvenile delinquency is around 3%. So, dun sa 100 items natin sa board exam, around 15 items doon ay juvenile delinquency and juvenile justice. So, of course, this is the topics under or competencies under the table of specification ng criminology area sa board exam. And that's why, yun din ang mga topics natin dito sa presentation na to. So, tara, pag-usapan natin. Number 1, as to the nature, extent, and theories of juvenile delinquency. So, ano nga ba kasi yung juvenile? Pag sinabi natin juvenile, we are referring to a child or a young person. So, ibig sabihin sa Tagalog, bata. Or a person who is not old enough to be considered an adult. So, maaring itong juvenile ay may semblance ng pagiging adult pero hindi pa siya pwedeng i-consider as adult. So basically, mga minor de edad. Okay, sa Tagalog, kabataan. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng juvenile. Or relating to young people who have committed or are accused of committing a criminal offense. Ibig sabihin nun. So, yung mga batang pasaway natin, simple lang yan yung mga batang pasaway natin na nakagawa ng krimen, in English, ang tawag natin sa kanila ay juvenile. And the next term we have is delinquency. Ano ba yung delinquency? So, pag sinabi natin delinquency, we are referring to a behavior. Behavior especially of a young person that is illegal or not acceptable to most people. Delinquency implies conduct that does not conform to the legal or moral standards of society. So, kung naririnig natin sa Tagalog, ito yung delinquente. Pag sinabi nating delinquente, ito ay gawain. Ito ay ugali. Ugali na kung saan ay hindi nakakasunod sa mga patakaran. So pag sinabi nating juvenile delinquency, ang tinutukoy natin ay mga kabataan na nakakagawa ng krimen o mga kabataan na lumalabag sa batas, nakakagawa ng krimen. These are behavior of children which deviate from the normal pattern of rules and regulations, custom, and culture which society does not accept. So, yung mga ugaling bastos, mga ugaling hindi kaaya-aya, na ipinapakita ng kabataan, ang tawag natin doon ay juvenile delinquency. Ngayon, meron tayong konsepto ng age of majority. Ano nga ba yung age of majority? The age of majority is the threshold of legal adulthood as recognized or declared in law. Okay, pag-usapan natin. So, pag sinabi natin threshold, ito yung pamantayan Pamantayan ng alin? Ng legal adulthood. Ibig sabihin, sa mata ng batas, ito yung edad na kung saan sa mata ng batas ay matanda ka na. Ikaw ay nasa hustong gulang na. Hustong gulang para saan? Okay? Hustong gulang para magdesisyon para sa iyong sarili. Alright? o para sa sarili niya. Yung meaning yung tao yung tinutukoy natin pagka tumungtong siya sa age of majority kung tawagin. So, anong source ng age of majority? According to our definition, it is declared or recognized in law. Okay, so batas ang nagsasabi na ang tao ay nasa hustong gulang na. Right? So, age of majority, the age when children become legal adults and have the right to make informed decisions. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung mga bata, ang tawag natin menor de edad, no? Minor. Ngayon, pag tumuntong sila sa particular na edad, ayan ay age of majority kung tawagin natin. Diba? Ikakaroon sila ng karapatan para magdesisyon para sa sarili nila. Ano yung mga example ng mga desisyon na to para sa sarili nila? We have education. For example, nagkakaroon ng karapatan yung isang bata, pagtungtong niya ng legal age, na magdesisyon para sa sarili niyang edukasyon. Nagkakaroon siya ng karapatan para mamili ng kung anong kurso yung gusto niyang kunin, gusto niyang pag-aralan, saan niya gusto mag-aral. Another thing is voting. Nagkakaroon siya ng karapatan na bumoto, mag-participate sa ating democracy. Yung tinatawag natin na suffrage, right to suffrage. Right to suffrage ba or right of suffrage? Okay, just look it up na lang. And marriage also, di ba? Nagkakaroon ng karapatan makipagkontrata ng kasal isang tao pagtungtong niya ng tamang edad. And nagkakaroon siya ng karapatan para mag-decide kung paano niya gagastusin or isi-save niya ba or whatever na gusto niyang gawin sa pera. Sa kanyang pera. Kasi kung mapapansin niyo, may mga kabataan na merong pera pero ang may say dyan ay yung mga guardian nila because nga a minor cannot give consent under our laws. And also, another thing is that a minor can enter into contracts at marami pang iba. Yan ang essence ng age of majority. Now, I want you to look in the screen. This is a map of the United States. And kung mapansin nyo, yung mga states dyan, merong assigned number. Ngayon yung assigned number dyan, yan yung age of majority sa state na yan. Alright? So, meron tayong 16, 17, tsaka 18. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin nun, wala, even in the US itself, sa loob ng US mismo, walang uniform na age of majority. Ibig sabihin, walang universal age of majority. Yung legal adulthood natin dito sa Pilipinas ay maaring hindi kaparehas ng legal age nila sa ibang bansa. Halimbawa, anong epekto nito? Kung isipin mo, di ba? Halimbawa, you are 16 years old, legal age ka na, pwede kang bumili ng alak, pwede kang manigarilyo. Halimbawa dyan sa Alaska, no? Sa state of Alaska. Pero pagdating mo ng Nevada, 18 na yung legal age of adulthood, hindi ka papayagan, hindi ka bebentahan sa store. That is one of the characteristic of this setup. No? One of the characteristics of this setup. Kasi nga, hindi pare-parehas ang age of majority. Okay? Now, meron tayong question and try to answer it. The age of majority in the Philippines is blank. Alright? The age of majority in the Philippines is blank. Is it A, is it A15, B16, C18, D21? Tama. The age of majority in the Philippines is 18 years old. How about the age for emancipation in the Philippines? age of emancipation in the Philippines, same choices. Same choices. Yes, tama ka na naman. That is 18 years of age. Ano ba yung emancipation? Okay, emancipation under Article 234 ng Family Code as amended by RA 6809. Emancipation takes place by the attainment of majority unless otherwise provided. Majority commences at the age of 18 years. Ano ba yung emancipation? So, yung emancipation, nangyayari yan pagdating natin ng 18 years of age. Pag nag-18 tayo. Emancipation simply means our freedom from parental authority. Yung kalayaan natin mula sa pangangalaga ng ating mga magulang. Kakaroon na tayo ng nagkakaroon tayo ng karapatan para mag-decide para sa sarili natin. Yan ang isang epekto ng emancipation. Pagiging malaya sa patnubay ng magulang. Okay? Another concept here in this subject is status offense. Okay, yun tinatawag natin na status offense. Ano ba ibig sabihin nun? These are offenses which discriminate only against a child. While an adult does not suffer any penalty for committing similar acts, these shall include curfew violations, truancy, parental disobedience, and the like. That is provided for by Republic Act 9344 or the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2006. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Status offense? Yung offenses which discriminate only against a child. Bakit? Kasi nga, pagka, ito yung mga gawain na kapag matanda ang gumawa, walang penalty. Pero pag bata ang gumawa, ay may penalty. Okay? I mean, considered siya as offense. So, pag halimbawa, matanda, uminom ng alak, that is okay. That is normal. Pero pagka minor de edad, uminom ng alak, that is an offense. Okay? Ang tanong, ito bang status offense ay may penalty? Okay, nabasa nga natin under RA 9344, ay hindi pala nabasa. Okay. But we will answer that later on. But I know that you have already an idea kung punishable ba ang status offense. Kasi may may mga subsequent provision pa dito. Okay? Okay, ito pala yung sinasabi natin. Under RA 10630, yung batas na is strengthening Republic Act 9344. So, status offenses are not punishable. Okay? Although they are considered offense under RA 9344. Okay? Any conduct not considered an offense or not penalized if committed by an adult shall not be considered an offense and shall not be punished if committed by a child. Bakit kaya? Kasi nga, because of positivist approach. No, we are leaning more on reforming our children rather than punishing them. So, medyo maawain yung provision ng yung naging shift natin towards this offense, status offense. Okay? Ano ba yung mga typical na status offenses natin? We have truancy. Yung laging yung pagiging late sa school ng isang estudyante. Frequent unreasonable absenteeism from school. Use of profane language, running away from home, smoking and drinking, disobedience to parents, guardians or school officials, mendicancy or begging in the streets, association with delinquent gangs. Okay, ito yung mga offenses na nagagawa ng ating mga kabataan. Okay, these are considered status offenses. Now, we have Factors and causes of juvenile delinquency. Factors and causes of juvenile delinquency. Ano ba yung mga bagay na maaaring magdulot o makaapekto sa isang bata para siya ay mag-commit ng delinquency or maging juvenile delinquent? We have the concept of gender. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng gender? Pag sinabi nating gender, it refers to those characteristics and roles of women and men that are socially constructed. Take note of that term, no? Socially constructed. What is gender about? Social roles and relations between men and women in the society. It affects all parts of our lives, social, economic, and political. However, it changes over time. It is what we expect men and women to do or behave. It is about how power is used and shared. So, kung mapapansin nyo, in a social, in a social context, kumbaga, mas malawak ang konsepto ng gender kaysa sa yung tinatawag natin na sex. Yeah. Pag-usapan natin. Okay. So, let us distinguish. So, pag sinabi nating sex, no? Ano ba yung difference niya between gender? Compared with gender pala. Okay? So, pag sinabing sex, it is biological. Okay? Pag sinabi natin biological, ang basis natin ay penis, vagina, ovaries, testes, uterus, etc. Pag sinabi naman nating gender, we are referring to socially constructed roles, responsibilities, and behaviors. So, dito papasok yung role ng men and women sa society. Sex is universal while gender is cultural. And sex, we are born with our sex, no? Either we have a penis or a vagina. Pero may mga medical conditions, no, na both may vagina and penis or whatever. There is a case decided by the Supreme Court in the case of Jennifer Kagandahan, if I'm not mistaken. Basahin niyo yung case na yan. No? Kasi that is very interesting. Sabi ng Supreme Court doon, sex is determined at birth. Okay? So kung ano ang sex mo nung pinanganak ka, yun na yun. Hindi mo pwedeng basta palitan ang legal status mo as to your sex. Okay? Dalawa yan eh. Pag kinumpara mo yung kaso ni Silvestre, no, at ni Jennifer Kagandahan. Now, moving on, gender is learned behavior. Okay? And it changes over time. While sex generally unchanging unless siguro magpa-sex change ka. Yeah? And it does not vary. While gender varies within and between cultures. Ano ibig sabihin nun? So pag sinabing gender, mainit to na usapin ngayon eh, 'di ba? Yung halimbawa sa US, 'di ba? Did you just assume that I am a woman? Yeah? Kasi halimbawa tinawag mong ma'am yung isang tao kasi mukha siyang babae. Tapos sasabihin niya, did you just assume that I am a woman? Eh yung pala puso niya lalaki. Yeah? Ang role na gusto niyang gampanan lalaki. So na-offend sila. I think hindi pa naman yata masyadong nakakarating yung kultura na yan dito sa Pilipinas, no, mga kaibigan. But this is the idea. Okay? The concept of gender may cause juvenile delinquency. Kung mapapansin nyo, ang daming pwedeng gender eh. Okay. Sabi nga natin kanina, this is socially constructed roles. Kasi kung mapapansin mo, maaaring ikaw ay pinanganak na lalaki, biologically, ang sex mo male. Pero ang gusto mong i-adapt na role ay role ng isang woman. Okay? Role ng isang woman. But the society does not accept that in general. Depende sa culture na kinabibilangan mo. That's why, in effect, this person na lalaki pero gusto niya maging woman, in effect, may have been committing delinquency. Kasi nga, this is a behavior that is against the standard norms. Pero yun mo, ang dami pala ng gender. No? Male, female, gay, androgyne, asexual, neutroa. Neutroa ba, ano dyan? Pronunciation. Lesbian, hetero, bigender, transgender, agender, bisexual, non-binary, travesty, demigirl, demiboy. Alright. So, ang dami. Meron din tayong tinatawag na gender dysphoria. Ano ba yung gender dysphoria? This is the feeling of discomfort or distress that might occur in people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics. Yan yung sinasabi natin kanina, no? Halimbawa, yung tao, pinanganak siyang lalaki, biologically, pero ang gusto niya ay maging babae. Right? Transgender and gender diverse people might experience gender dysphoria at some point in their lives. Another concept regarding gender is what we call gender inequality. No? Gender inequality is discrimination on the basis of sex or gender, causing one sex or gender to be routinely privileged or prioritized over another. Gender equality is a fundamental human right, and that right is violated by gender-based discrimination. Okay. Siguro yan din yung reason kaya merong feminism, no? Because of gender inequality. The feminist movement is advocating for women to have an equal rights, equal opportunity. Diba? Kasi nga daw, kung anong kayang gawin ng lalaki, kaya din gawin ng babae. No? But kung ano man yung maging opinion nyo doon, it's up to you. That is how gender inequality might cause delinquency. Kaya nga nang sabi natin, the gender that is tawag dito, considered inferior may revolt against those who are prioritized or privileged. Halimbawa, tawag dito, maaari silang mag-resort sa mga hindi kanais-nais na bagay kung hindi sila priority. Halimbawa sa application, sa isang particular na trabaho, di ba? Pero wag na tayong lumayo. Ano ba yung mga revolution natin particular dyan? Di ba? Voting rights, di ba? In fact, sa history natin, if I'm not mistaken, around 1920 lang, nagkaroon ng karapatan ang kababaihan na mag-participate sa election. That is an example of inequality, gender inequality. Now, you have statistics and trends. Gender differences. In the Philippines, males are more frequently involved in delinquent activities than females. According to data from the PNP, or the Philippine National Police, boys are more likely to commit violent offenses while girls are more often involved in non-violent offenses such as truancy or theft. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Bias ba ang distribution ng violence? Okay. Maybe it has something to do with our hormones. Halimbawa, testosterone. Diba? Testosterone is one of the hormones that causes aggressiveness. And makita mo yan sa mga boys. So, yung mga boys natin, they are more prone to aggressive behaviors. Pero hindi naman lahat ng lalaki o tao na mataas ang testosterone ay nagko-commit ng violent crime. Because sa mga atleta natin, no? Sa mga athletes, matataas ang testosterone ng mga yan. Anyway, that is according to data, no? If we compare both genders. In cultural context, Filipino culture traditionally expects males to be more assertive and aggressive, traits that can manifest in delinquent behavior when not channeled positively. Yan yung isang ano natin, no? Notion natin na kapag kalalaki ka, dapat ikaw ay assertive, ikaw ay aggressive, no? Minsan nga, maririnig mo, sabihin nila, "Huwag ka umiyak pre, 'di ba? Para ka namang hindi lalaki, 'di ba? Ba't ka iiyak?" So, anong epekto nun? Maaari na ma-suppress yung emotion ng lalaki, no? To the point na imbis na mailabas niya yung nararamdaman niya, mai-divert niya sa hindi productive na bagay yung emosyon niya. Okay? Imbis na mag-exercise, for example, okay, maaring maghanap na lang ng kasuntukan, whatever. Tama? So, you also have theories and explanation. Di ba may tinatawag kasi tayong machismo culture? Machismo culture. The Filipino concept of machismo often encourages males to exhibit dominance and toughness, sometimes leading to aggressive or delinquent behavior. Girls, conversely, may engage in delinquency as a reaction to the restrictive gender norms that expect them to be submissive and obedient. Yun yung isang perspective na maaari nating gamiting perspective dito, no? Kasi nga tayo mga lalaki, halimbawa, dapat pag lalaki ka, matibay ka, may panindigan ka, matapang ka, malakas ka. So ito, pag hindi natin yan na-achieve, yung expectation na yan, it can lead to something negative like exhibiting delinquent behavior. Well, on the other hand, ganun din sa mga girls natin, no? They are expected to become submissive, for example. And they may rebel on that. They may revolt. Maging pakawala ba? Anyway, yan. Another factor that may cause delinquency is the family. Remember family? Family is considered as the first and most basic institution of society. The most basic institution of society responsible for developing a child's potential in all its aspects like physical, emotional, spiritual, moral, intellectual, and social. The family molds the child to learn to curb his desires and to accept rules that define the time, place, and circumstances under which highly personal needs may be satisfied in socially acceptable ways. So, yan ang family natin, no? Dito, unang natututunan ng isang bata ang lahat. Dito nade-develop ang lahat ng aspeto niya bilang isang tao. Mapa-physical man yan, emotional, spiritual, moral, intellectual, and social aspect of his personality. Now, in terms of family structure, we can basically classify them, no, into these structures. We have the so-called nuclear family. Ano itong nuclear family? It is the traditional family setup that makes the majority of all families. So, it consists of two parents and children. So, nanay, tatay, tapos mga anak. And then we have extended family. So, extended families consist more adults who are related by blood or marriage living under the same roof with their children. So, ito yung malaking family. Pwedeng combination yan ng mga family structure natin and they are living under one roof. Pwedeng, for example, kayo, nuclear family, kasama nyo yung mother's side na grandmother, tapos nandun din yung family ng uncle mo, auntie mo, yung single mo na tita, kasama nyo rin sa bahay, that is extended family. So basically, a big family. Single parent family is composed of one parent with one or more children. So pwedeng yan ay single dad or single mom with their child or children. We have also the so-called step family or also known as blended families. They consist of two halves of other nuclear families that blend into one. We have also the so-called childless family. Sino yan? Mga partners, no? Married couple without children, kaya mga live-in partners, walang children, they are considered childless family. Grandparent family, ito naman ay composed of or comprised of parents who are raising their grandchildren. So, yung mga lumaki sa lolo, sa lola, and their mother or father are away, or both away, that is grandparent family. We also have unconventional family. So siguro dito papasok yung dinidiscuss ni yung mga tinanong ni Justice Leonen kay Soljen Berberabe, no? Madami siyang tanong eh. Like for example, yung bang sexual couple living together, are they considered family? And the Soljen said yes. Yeah. At marami pang iba. Unconventional families are the types of families that are unexpected in most social norms. Ito yung mga hindi expected, hindi normal, okay? Or hindi siya, kumbaga rare, okay? Like for example, polygamous families, for example, are unconventional. Pero depende yan sa culture, no? Ano ba yung polygamous family? Example, one father, multiple mothers, and children. So, marami siyang asawa. Bugoy na koy-koy, for example. Diba? 3 wife, what a life. Normal ba yun sa kultura natin? Maybe not. No? Hindi. So, that is considered as unconventional family. But in some societies, that would be the norm. If that would be the norm, then ang unconventional naman ay monogamy. Diba? Isa lang asawa mo at kasama niyo mga anak niyo. That is unconventional. If the conventional or the norm is polygamy. Ano ba yung composition ng ideal home? Okay, we have the ideal home. Ano ba yung ideal? Parang yan yung yung standard eh. Yan yung ine-expect natin eh. Ideal. Okay. Ideally, a home must have the following. First, structural completeness. Ito guys, tinatawag natin to na ideal. in the context na maiwasan natin yung juvenile delinquency. Yung maging juvenile delinquent, mapariwara yung mga bata. Okay? So, dapat daw sa isang home ay may structural completeness. Meaning to say, presence ang both father and mother. And second, may economic security. Ibig sabihin, the family is capable of providing the basic needs and wants of the family. And then, meron din dapat cultural conformity. Ito yung mga family beliefs and practice. Dapat may pinaniniwalaan. Hindi sapat na nabubuhay lang. So, dapat may prinsipyo na sinusunod. Ano kaya yun? For the purpose na maging cohesive yung ating family. Parang yan yung glue no? Sa ating family. Moral conformity. Meaning, there must be a moral uprightness or Christian way of living. For example, physical and psychological normalcy. And emotional adequacy. Meaning, dapat daw sa isang home ay mayroong affection, support, love, and care between family members. Because we are emotional beings. Hindi tayo dry na walang emotion. Mga psychopath, sociopath yun, mga walang emotion. Anyway, ayan. Factors in the home life that may cause delinquency. Ito yan. First, quality development of the child. Hindi siya lumaking maayos. Hindi siya nasubaybayan. That is letter B, lack of parental guidance. Parental rejection, tinakwil ka ng magulang. Broken homes. No? May mga absence na family members. Lack of love. Unfair treatment. Too harsh discipline. Or too much leniency by either or both parents. Masama din yan. No? Sa ethics natin, according sa mga philosophers, lahat ng masama ay lahat ng sobra at lahat ng kulang ay hindi maganda. That is a vice. Hindi siya nakakabuti. And unfavorable parental example. Right? Kasi kung mali-mali ang ginagawa ng isang role model sa isang family, the tendency for the child is gayahin niya or doon ma-develop yung kanyang thinking na yun pala ay tama. And then we have the concept of special categories of children. Okay, ano ba yung mga special categories of children natin under the law? Who is a child, by the way? Child refers to a person below 18 years of age or a person over 18 years of age but is unable to fully take care of himself or herself or protect himself or herself from abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, or discrimination because of physical or mental disability or condition. So, yung definition ng child, dalawang klase, no? Ang considered child natin. Number 1, yung below 18 na taong gulang na tao. Pangalawa, 18 or above, pero hindi niya, wala siyang kakayahan para alagaan yung sarili niya o protektahan yung sarili niya. Above 18 but is unable to fully take care of himself or protect himself. Okay, under PD 603, we have what we call dependent child. Sino yung dependent child? One who is without a parent, guardian, or custodian, or one whose parents, guardian, or other custodian for good cause desires to be relieved of his care and custody and is dependent upon the public for support. Okay, bakit siya tinawag na dependent child? Because yung dependent child, nakadepende sa public yung kanyang resources. So, ito yung mga bata na nakikita natin sa bahay ampunan. Wala na silang magulang for the reason na sila ay isinuko ng magulang sa custody ng DSWD or bayampunan, or wala na talaga silang magulang. Kaya nakadepende na lang sa public yung kanilang support na natatanggap para mabuhay. Okay? That is one classification under DPD 603. Second, we have the so-called abandoned child. Sino yung abandoned child? Refers to a child who has no proper parental care or guardianship, or whose parents have deserted him or her for a period of at least 3 continuous months, which includes a pounding. So from the word abandon, iniwan ng magulang. Okay? Ngayon, paano i-consider na iniwan na ng magulang yung bata? If yung bata, hindi, dinesert ng magulang, iniwan ng magulang for at least 3 continuous months. Okay. Kasali na rin dyan yung mga foundling, yung mga sanggol, no? Na iniiwan kung saan-saan. So 3 months yan, guys, no? Okay. Under RA 9523. Actually, ang nasa PD 603, 6 months dati yan eh. Para ma-considered na abandoned child, ang isang bata, yung parent dapat dinesert siya at least 6 continuous months. Kaya lang, ayon nga daw sa DSWD, maraming bata ang iniiwan ng magulang tapos babalikan, iniiwan sa kapitbahay, sa kakilala, sa kamag-anak tapos babalikan, hindi umaabot ng 6 months, so hindi siya nako-consider as abandoned child. At dahil hindi siya ma-classify as abandoned child, hindi siya matulungan ng DSWD. So, in essence, hindi nila ma-classify. Kaya, if I'm not mistaken, nag-request sila sa Congress na sana, as a legislative measure, gawing 3 months para matulungan nila yung mga batang iniiwan ng magulang. At least 3 continuous months. Another classification is neglected child. Sino naman yung neglected child? Refers to a child whose basic needs have been deliberately unattended or inadequately attended within a period of 3 continuous months. Ano daw? Basic needs ng bata hindi naibigay. Or kung naibigay man ay kulang. Okay? Within a period of 3 continuous months. Ngayon, under PD 603, may dalawang klase ng neglect. First kind of neglect is the physical neglect. When the child is malnourished, ill-clad, no? Walang maayos na kasuotan, and without proper shelter, a child is unattended when left by himself or herself without proper provisions and or without proper supervision. Yan yung physical neglect, physical na napabayaan, hindi na ibigay yung pangangailangan ng bata. Yung pangalawang klase ng neglect is what we call emotional neglect. Ngayon, kailan nagkakaroon ng emotional neglect? When the child is maltreated, raped, seduced, exploited, overworked, or made to work under conditions not conducive to good health, or is made to beg in the streets or public places, or when children are in moral danger or exposed to gambling, prostitution, and other vices. Yan nangyayari ang emotional neglect. Either way, physical neglect, emotional neglect, pag na-determine ng DSWD na yung bata within 3 continuous months, yes, within period of 3 continuous months, ganyan nangyayari sa bata, okay, pwedeng kunin niya ng DSWD. Ang tawag doon ay involuntary, mamaya, we will expound on that. Okay. Na ano rin ako, nagka-brain fog. Okay. And then we have another classification, yung tawag na child at risk. Sino naman yung child at risk? Ito, ang basis natin ay RA 9344. Child at risk refers to a child who is vulnerable to and at the risk of committing criminal offenses because of personal, family, and social circumstances. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung bata na nasa panganib na gumawa ng krimen. Okay? Ang tendency niya, yung bata, makagawa siya ng crime in the future. Bakit? Because of personal, family, and social circumstances. Gaya na lang ng mga nabanggit natin kanina. That is the evil that is sought to be avoided by the law. Yung maging ganito, no? Maging child at risk or maging criminal in the future in the making yung bata because of neglect, abandonment, and being dependent. I mean, hindi kasali yung being dependent. Ito, yan sinasabi natin kanina, commitment. No? We have the so-called voluntary committed child. Sino yung voluntary committed child? Take note of the word voluntary. It is one whose parents or legal guardian knowingly and willingly relinquish parental authority to the DSWD or any duly accredited child placement or child caring agency or institution. So, sa madaling salita, ang voluntary committed child, ito yung bata na isinuko ng magulang sa pangangalaga ng DSWD or sa mga child placement or child caring agency o yung mga bahay ampunan natin, for example. Di ba? Bakit isinuko ng magulang voluntarily yung anak niya sa DSWD? For whatever reason, no, na hindi na niya kayang buhayin, malamang hindi na niya kayang pakainin sa hirap ng buhay, hindi niya kayang maibigay yung mga pangailangan ng bata. Yan yung voluntary commitment, guys. Ginagawa yan, nangyayari yan sa reality. Sinusuko ng magulang yung bata sa DSWD. And then we also have those so-called child legally available for adoption. Okay? Ito yung, ano sila? Sino yung mga batang to? This refers to a child in whose favor a certification was issued by the DSWD that he or she is legally available for adoption after the fact of abandonment or neglect has been proven through the submission of pertinent documents or one who was voluntarily committed by his or her parents or legal guardian. So, yan yung mga batang pwedeng ampunin. A child legally available for adoption. So, sila ay sinertify. No? Binigyan ng certification ng DSWD. Na sila ay pwede nang ampunin. Commitment. No? In relation dun sa voluntary commitment. Ito yung tawag sa, other term nito is surrender. Right? Commitment or surrender of a child is the legal act of entrusting a child to the care of the DSWD or any duly licensed child placement agency or individual. Sinusurrender mo na yung anak mo sa gobyerno o sa mga bahay ampunan for whatever reason. And the primary reason is you can no longer provide the needs of the child. So, dalawang klase, guys, yung commitment, no? We have the so-called involuntary commitment in case of a dependent child. I mean, involuntary commitment and voluntary commitment. So, madali lang yan. Sa voluntary commitment, magulang mismo yung nagsuko sa DSWD ng anak niya. While yung involuntary commitment naman, ito yung sapilitan. Sapilitan na kinuha ng DSWD yung pangangalaga ng bata mula doon sa magulang. Bakit? By reason of abandonment, substantial and continuous or repeated neglect and or parental incompetence to discharge parental responsibilities and in the manner, form, and procedure hereinafter prescribed. That is the provision of the law. So, dalawa yan, no? Pwede mong reiterate lang natin. Magulang ka, pwede mong isuko yung anak mo sa DSWD at pwedeng kunin ng DSWD ang anak mo pagka meron silang nakitang rason alinman sa mga nabanggit natin. Basically, parental incompetence. Right? So, for our next video, gentlemen and ladies, yung part 2 for this subject, we are going to discuss peers and so on. Right? Mahaba pa to, mga kaibigan. So, kung nagre-review kayo, you should also take time reading. Ito namang video na to for supplemental consumption nyo lamang. Supplemental lamang sa inyong pagre-review. This is not the main menu, but siguro merienda ang inyong review. So, that's it for today. And see you. See you next time sa ating next na episode. Thank you.